One of the hardest guys to do a booking for right now, in my opinion, is Alistair Overeem. You got to look at the parts that you're handed. First off, Overeem breaks every rule that there is in fighting and in sport, which is, with age, he has not diminished a bit. He has not slowed down. There's ways that you're going to catch him and you're going to get your hand raised, but they aren't the traditional ways. And it's not even a matter of the longer the fight goes on, the older athlete is going to wear down. Reem doesn't seem to wear down. Reem always has a great strategy. Reem's always got great power. He's always got great style in terms of whether he's on his feet or he's on the ground. He just knows where he is. And at the heavyweight division, that's really all that you need. I mean, that is a lot right there. There's not a whole lot of 24 to 27-year-olds that you can say that about. With the heavyweight division, you've got to get used to it. That's one division where experience is beneficial. In most fights, in most sports, you're always thinking about, well, experience is a good thing. Well, not in the fight sport. You leave a piece of yourself in that ring every single night. You do not come out better, you come out worse. The more you do, the harder that it is to improve. But in the heavyweights, they get to break that rule. And Reem is a recipient of that rule breaking. But when you look at Reem, what are you going to do with him? And here's the parts that you have to deal with. This guy's a star. I mean, Reem is recognizable. Reem is a main event fighter. Reem is paid like a main event fighter. I cannot think of a scenario where Reem is any lower than a co-main event. I don't believe that has happened in a meaningful period of time, but usually they use him to headline cards. So now you're talking about he's got to fight the right guy, right? He's not going to fight an undercard guy. He's not going to fight some under enhancement talent. That's just not what you do in co-main and main event spots. But history says when you have a guy with a good name who is up there in years, that's exactly what he does. You pass that rub to somebody else. You bring in that 26, 27-year-old, have him get over on Reem, shine that guy up and run with him as Reem moves to the back. I mean, that's largely just what the sport says. That's just what you do. But I don't know if that would apply to Overeem, but I would offer that Overeem needs to be very disciplined to make sure that that doesn't happen to him. You don't want to be a gatekeeper. You just don't. Now, that's a part of the business, and it's a very real part. But once you get to that part, you're now at the part of the business where you're cashing checks, as opposed to trying to achieve goals. And I think with what we have seen with Overeem, this guy is well within his rights to still have world championship goals. Overeem matters, period. Overeem is a tough night out for anybody, period. The end. But what do you do? What do you do with a guy who's 40 years old, who's been in this sport over half of his life and has crossed paths with damn near everybody? What do you do? Before you default to make him a gatekeeper and throw him with some young guys, and eventually he's going to get beat because that's just what Father Time does. Before you do that, you need to consider another option, which is simply rematch. And Overeem wisely came out earlier today and called for a rematch. He said, I want a rematch Rozenstruick. I will finish him. I don't agree with that stoppage. That one bothers me. And that's a very real thing. I mean, Reem isn't rewriting history there. There was not very much time left in the entire contest, which, by the way, was scheduled for 5 rounds. Every other fight on that card that night was scheduled for 3. Had Reem's match been scheduled for 3, we have a totally different marking in the history book, if you will, which is Reem won. Because it was 5, it was also stopped what many people believed was early. Now, I think anytime a heavyweight hits another heavyweight and one guy falls down, I think the referee is well within his rights to jump in there. So I'm not crying controversy. I'm just suggesting the fact that if Overeem wanted to bring that up and say, I don't think that should have happened, I'm willing to put it on the line again, and I'm willing to show you guys that it would not and will not happen. I think he's got a bit of a storyline there. Now, history says, if you want to talk that a guy who just won does not go up against a guy who just lost. But I do think when you have that backstory, and I do think when you have a guy like Overeem who's spread it all around, given everybody an opportunity that's ever wanted it, and for the first time that I can even recall, he is now saying, I would like one back. And not to mention, that first fight was a lot of fun. It came with some drama. It came with some controversy. You had 2 heavyweights. They're out there. They're standing up. They're trading back and forth. I mean, it was a really fun fight. I like his idea of Rozenstruick. I think that is my overwhelming point right here. I think that Overeem might have just hit it on the head, and I will offer you one more. Another guy that is very in line with Overeem and that he breaks every rule in terms of age and in terms of finesse and in terms of getting better with time, which is not supposed to happen, but is Arlovsky. I really think Arlovsky versus Overeem, and it wouldn't be appropriate for Overeem to call out Arlovsky because it is a rematch and Overeem won that match. So you can't really go beat a guy and then call him out again. That's a little bit weird. You would need Arlovsky to call out Overeem. I'm just offering for you, there would be something special there for me. There would be some nostalgia. There would be two warriors that are great, that just simply won't go away. I think that that would be a fun match, but I don't want that to override Overeem's suggestion. I think Overeem has earned the right to make a suggestion and have us support him on it. I think Overeem versus Rozenstruick is not a bad idea.